Awesome. Okay. Back to streaming. I know everybody was wondering where we were, what had happened, but my name is Dr. Judy, KJTV here, and we have our Honorable Senator Okia Umtata, all the way from Busia County. And we also have Dr. Mandi, and I have the pleasure of introducing our senator. We are very happy that you could join us today. So we will just go back to, I'm going to get back to you, and I want you to just tell us more about who Okia Umtata is, the man of the Constitution.
Thank you for hosting me. Thank you, Dr. Mandi, and thank you, Dr. Judy.
Thank you.
There's nothing much to say about who I am, other than the fact to say that I'm a village boy, born in Busia, bred in Busia, and I am a citizen of the Republic of Kenya. And I take my citizenship very, very, very seriously, because that's the highest office I can ever occupy on earth, anywhere.
Not even being a senator.
No, it's not as big as being a citizen.
Yeah.
It's being a citizen, so what time is it over there?
It's about 1:26, about 1:30 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Next, I'm going to introduce Dr. Mandi. He's all the way back in Nairobi. So he will be with us today as we debunk this madness of the after election.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Yeah.
So, Dr. Mandi, please tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing in Kenya.
Yeah, you know very well I'm the KJTV host in the US. I traveled to Kenya more than a month ago.
Okay.
And I came to participate in the election. I was running to be a county speaker of Kisii County. Okay. So I came and I really tried hard to run, but I didn't win.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
the governor. Sorry. The governor of Kisii is a very good friend of mine.
Yeah.
Simbarati. I have a long history with him.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Even before when I was on his way to elections, he passed my office and we had a chat.
Okay.
When he last traveled down for the elections.
Oh, that's good.
So I hope he does a good job.
I think there is a lot of hope that there is good changes. He has shown that he's going to do a good job. I can tell you.
Yeah, so that he uplifts Kenya through Kisii.
Yeah.
Yes.
That is so true.
Yeah, Okia Umtata, I've always known you to be a constitutional man, a man who takes the Kenyan constitution at heart, and always I have seen you in the corridors of courts trying to defend the constitution, and you are really a giant about the constitution.
Thank you.
Yeah, actually, even cartoonists, there is a cartoon I would want to show you how they portray you as a constitution interpreter in chief. That is.
Looks good.
So tell us about your journey.
It's amazing.
About the constitution.
Well, as I told you, I'm a village boy. Brought up in a Catholic home. trained in Catholic schools,
Okay.
including spending quite a long time in the seminary training to be a Catholic priest.
Really?
So there's a lot of Catholicism in me.
Oh,
Maybe as much Catholicism as there is in the Pope, or even more.
you could have become
So,
a pope anyway. but here, if you were to become a father, you could have even taken the pope to court. I think if he's not following the Catholic doctrine.
yeah, the church there are different ways. You know, the church is not a democracy like the republic.
Okay.
The church is an authority,
Oh,
and when Rome speaks,
yeah.
that's the end of it. So it's not a democracy like Kenya. So it's an authority. So when you go there, they say secundum mantem ecclesia. Your mind is second to the mind of the church.
So probably you could have not met a priest then.
I would have met, because in fact the kind of priest I wanted to be was more of the secluded one that work. I was doing my work in Turkana. I was attracted to the pastoralists.
Yeah.
I did not have an attraction to being bishop or anything like that.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be a small pastor, a nondescript somewhere with my Bible and my flock. I didn't have the ambition. Yeah.
Mm.
You know, it's so humbling to have a honorable here, and you know how you describe yourself is just a village boy. I mean, a lot of the time we don't get a one-on-one with anybody in the Senate because people would be so busy. So here, can you tell us about your journey? How did you do it?
Well, do it for the Senate or do it for what?
For the Senate, you know what? I will get to the story of the church.
Yeah, I did. I always wanted to be a senator.
Mm-hmm.
So that from 2013,
Yes.
I was invited by Ford Kenya
Mm-hmm.
to buy in Nairobi. I think they had done some tribal arithmetic,
Okay.
saying that the governor would go to a Luo,
Mm-hmm.
a deputy governor to a Mukamba, and a senator to a Luya. That was the arithmetic I had accord.
Mm-hmm.
So I was at that time I was in hospital. I had just been attacked and badly injured. I was attacked on the 12th of August, on the 8th of November, not 12th, 8th of November 2012, not 12th of whatever. It's the 8th of November 2012. I was attacked in the streets of Nairobi and virtually had my skull broken in the forehead and at the back of the head, and I lost 10 teeth. So I was recuperating in the Mata Hospital when I was approached and told that you have looked around for a candidate for the Senate, and I think you meet the bill, and so we want to give you. So from my hospital bed, I said, okay, go ahead and give it to me. And they assured me I'm going to be the candidate for CORD, because Ford Kenya was fielding me as their candidate, and Ford Kenya was a key stakeholder in CORD. But I think when my name was floated by Ford Kenya after everything had been announced and whatever, oh, by the way, those are my party colors why I've put my name and the title. The light those are the colors of the National Construction Alliance.
Exactly. Those are the colors.
Yeah, so thank you very much.
Yes.
So I decided then we began, the word had gone out and whatever. But when it got to the powers that be, they felt that maybe if I became a senator, I would become a thorn in the flesh of, what do you call it? The flesh of the powers that be.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Tangula was then prevailed upon to not back me, but my name had already been announced. So they told me that I should pull out in favor of Margaret Wanjiru, who had now been brought in to run because she'd failed to get the clearance for governor. So they were bringing in her running for Senate, and she was going to be the court candidate.
Okay.
So from my hospital bed, I reflected over it. I said, okay, that's how politics plays, but I also have my name to preserve. So I will not withdraw because I'm not associated with quitters. So I said, okay, I'll print posters
Yes.
and scatter them around Nairobi, but I'll not conduct any campaign and see what happens and get on the ballot and pay the fees. So I got on the ballot and I think I came in third
Yes.
with 68,000 votes behind Sonko and Margaret Wanjiru. So when I saw I had 68,000 votes, and then I also learned that the politics of Nairobi require you to kowtow to the key players for the presidency. Because you look at the main tribal groupings in Nairobi, you have got the Kikuyu
Yes.
at about 33%. You get the Kamba at about 17%. You get the Luya at about 16%. You get the Luo at about 11. And then you go down, like for you, the Kisses, you're about 6% or something like that. So with those demographics, you find that, and mobilization is largely ethnic.
It's
So you
largely
find that, yeah, it's largely ethnic. So you needed to be close or to be a puppet of whoever would be pulling the Kikuyu vote, the Kamba vote, the Luya vote, and the Luo vote. And in that formation, the Kalenjin vote is not really an issue in Nairobi. There are not many in Nairobi.
Okay.
Looks like they are very comfortable in the Rift Valley. They didn't go out much. God is insignificant. So you need to, those four tribes and the way they are allied, you need to be able to be a puppet of those who control those votes, or who are identified as the eating chiefs of those tribes. So since I'm not an eating subject myself, I found it difficult to associate with eating chiefs. So I relocated to Busia in the 2017 elections and still garnered for the Senate.
Yes.
So my interest for the Senate, they'd been fired. And even during the constitution making process, I was a very strong voice for the Senate. And I even went and fell out with people when the Senate's powers were whittled down by the MPs when they went to Naivasha. And they made the Senate look almost like a no house. But then you see, sometimes the law depends a lot not on the letter, but on the spirit and the interpretation you can get out of it. So after reading it through and through, I found that it was still possible to get back to the initial intention of the drafters of the Constitution for the Senate to be the ultimate decider of issues in Kenya, including if the president were to be impeached.
Yes.
The Senate would sit as the court. And the Senate was supervising devolution, which was the other half of the government, of the executive. Because the executive in Kenya is divided into two. The national and the county, and because we are devolved, we don't have 48 governments in Kenya. No, we just have two: the national government and the county government. And the county government is divided into 47 units. Yeah. So I put my heart into the ring and I ran against a powerhouse called Honorable Amos Wako in Busia in 2017. And we had an exciting campaign. When the results came out, I performed fairly well. And I think from many people who I've spoken to believe I won that election, but I was unable to protect my vote. Because the reason why the results for the Senate in 2017 were announced 4 days after they announced the results for every other seat. They must have been massaging them to achieve desired outcome.
You know, that's a very interesting, interesting because I want you to tell us, because here now we have candidates, you know, who've ran. I mean, they're disappointed, and you know, you can imagine you being, maybe you know, when you ran against Thomas Walker, you're told, okay, you know what, you won, but you were not massaging the right people. So can you imagine, like, candidates who decided to sell their houses, move back to Kenya, and run in the hopes of winning a seat and actually trying to help, you know, people out? What? And now they lost, and we wonder. I mean, what did diasporans do so wrong?
No, I don't know, but I think the first thing is that my understanding of a political contest,
Yes.
and even the reason why I did not mount an appeal when what happened in Busia in 2017 happened, and the evidence I had of a contrary result was so overwhelming, I did not go to court much because my approach had been that I wanted to serve and not necessarily to get into a career. I never looked at politics as a career, and I don't look at it as a career. I look at it as a very, very important call to citizenship, to responsible citizenship. And so when you go and register as a voter, then you understand you are doing one thing. There's a very big thing people don't understand about the Constitution of Kenya. When you look at Article 1, everybody goes about yapping, we the people, yes. But who are the people? Are you part of the people? So you need to go and look at Article 255 of the Constitution to understand who the people are. So in Article 255, you are told that to change that Constitution, the entrenched clauses in the Constitution can only be changed through a referendum. The other clauses can only be changed through Parliament. Then you ask yourself, who participates in a referendum? Is a registered voter. Who elects the MPs who go to Parliament? Is a registered voter. So we the people is basically we the registered voters. Not everybody holding a Kenyan ID is the people in Kenya. It's not. You cannot decide anything. You must be a registered voter to bribe yourself as we the people having the power to do ABCD. But many people think that when they don't register and don't participate in elections, they are the people. No, they are not the people. They are just subjects.
They're just
they're just subjects. The people are those who have registered to vote. So, and that was very, very important to be a registered voter. And then the people are also those who vie in elections.
Yes.
So it's a very, very noble thing to do, to vie in an election, not to win an election.
Yes.
To win an election comes after, but to vie and offer yourself and to give people an opportunity to choose. That is what matters in a democracy. And so when you go to vie, you are performing the most important responsibility of a citizen of the Republic of Kenya.
Okay.
And if it costs you to sell your house, to do whatever, it only underscores how seriously you take your citizenship. And the people make decisions, and most of the time they don't make the right decisions. The vast registered process of democracy on Good Friday, when Pontius Pilate stood up with Jesus Christ and Barabbas and said, who do you choose between the two? And they said, give us one who looks like us. Give us Barabbas. So you are not starting, so you have to be able to be identified with the voter. All politics is local, as Newt Gingrich used to say, the former Speaker of the US. All politics is local. So in the diaspora, you have to realize that people choose Barabbas, not Jesus. So don't try to be Jesus to them. Be a Barabbas to them.
Exactly. Oh, you know what?
Senator,
Most of you.
Senator, I want you. Before you continue, you put a point there. I need, because I'm also like I don't want to call myself a victim, but how can I be a Barnabas?
Yes, you need to get early on the ground and begin identifying with their vibes.
Yes.
And once you have identified with your vibes and they see you as one of them, then you can lead them even to change those vibes. Yeah, but they must see you as one of them, not an outsider. And don't come with a messianic tag. Don't be a messiah to them. They will hug you. They will crucify you.
They will crucify you.
Yes, don't try to be a messiah.
Okay. So you know, so that is just one of us parables, or one of us saved, or just intelligence that I'm gonna be walking around with, just telling people, look, you know what? We are not going to perform any miracles. We are going to come to Kenya and we will be part of you. So how long should people? Okay, so the diasporans, for example, who didn't win, now they're questioning themselves, like, how long should they be on the ground before they even decide to ask for that vote?
Being on the ground has many ways. You see, you really have to come. You really have to come through issues.
Yes.
You have to come through issues on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, understand what the issues are.
Yes.
Understand who the decision makers are, and introduce yourself to them and work with them, and don't pose that to be a threat to their enterprise. Don't try to make them irrelevant with brilliant ideas.
You have to be a Barnabas.
Yeah. Even if you're a Messiah inside, but you posture as a Barnabas, and then you're able to penetrate them. And but once you get to a hold of them, then you can now lead them to where you want to be. Once you've done that.
So I know this. Dr. Julie was here for election. He was running as a woman, to be a women rebel Nyamira.
Yes.
She ran on my party.
Oh,
thank you, Dr.
I did. Very bold move right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very important.
So, Senator, you see, like that is the same mistake I made. I decided to go to run to be a speaker. When I went, I think I was trying to be a messiah. And, then they asked me for a Barnabas. And they said, yeah, you have brilliant ideas, but you are too late. And I didn't understand, like what you were talking about, the dynamics that the lawyers to get a senator to put a senator. I didn't also realize that in Kisi, they had divided the county seats among the major clans. So I was running as a speaker when actually a speaker was supposed to come from a different clan.
Yes.
And finally they told me, we are sorry. You're not from the clan where...
but you see you have broken the ice. Now you need to keep your feet on the ground.
Okay.
And the next time the eating chiefs are sharing out the meal, we know which plate, what they'll place on your plate.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's a lot of that. What we call it, negotiated democracy.
Yeah.
So negotiated democracy, you have to deal with it. And in fact, it was a big impediment in my election here in Busia. Because the last time they said You see, we are this a 10-year cycle is changing. When we got in with an arrangement whereby the governor was Teso, the senator was Luya, and the women rep was Luya. That's all the ODM matrix. Now, since the Senator Amos Wako now, I think after the bruising battle we had, he keeps on complaining he spent more money than he ever thought he would ever spend in his life, including it and the feature. The way he tells me, he was able to survive. I think those people skinned him when he was there cooking figures. So he did not run. So they said now the Senate seat should go to Anita Sot, and the governor's seat should go to a lawyer. So they began the campaign that Omtata is not Teso. Yeah.
So you are not Teso.
I'm not Teso. They began that campaign. They began proving. But me, I looked around and I said, what is being Teso? You know, ethnicity is not biological.
Right.
Ethnicity is a social construct.
Yeah, it's a social construct. That's true.
Yeah, it's not biological, it's not scientific. It's a social construct. So how do I become a Teso? So I said, okay, since I polish up my Teso and do the basics, and on the stage, the Teso candidate could not speak as good at Teso as I do.
Okay. So you came in as a Teso representative.
Yes.
Wow.
And I seriously am. So then, of course, fortunately for me also, my mother is Teso and my father is lawyer.
Oh, okay.
And I speak well in both languages. And also then, after doing that, I began articulating a vision. After becoming the Barabbas, I now began becoming the Messiah now. Even later, I articulated a vision for them that even the so-called Teso candidate could not articulate.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's how then when the elections came in some areas, the Teso candidate was getting 0 votes from the Teso constituency.
Because he was not speaking Teso well, like you.
Yeah, and he was always telling his ethnicity. And maybe me, I stopped the ethnicity thing by speaking the language. And then I rose up and I began a prosecuting agenda in their language.
Okay.
But then he kept on telling people he's local, he's a Teso, and he wants me. So he became just a Teso candidate. And me, I became the candidate with an agenda for the Teso.
Okay. Now that you have talked about negotiated democracy, and Kisii County is among the counties which has really entrenched the negotiated democracy, and I know in Mandera they have the same.
Yeah.
And, as you say in Nairobi, and even I didn't know that in Busia you had that arrangement. What is your view on this negotiated democracy? Because at the time,
Busia, another thing I should add, that in Busia is called Baba's bedroom. It's ODM, serious ODM manenos.
Okay.
I had also to fight off the ODM stranglehold. Yeah. If you look at some videos, you'll even see where I confronted Baba and I said in Busia, we're not having 6 piece. And that confrontation was the point at which I broke through for having, because also that other thing, the local people in the, and I think it's even among the Kisii, so-called Amachuma, this thing of macho. They want to support a leader who can stand up and be his own man or woman. So when I stood up to Raila before him, and nobody had ever confronted Raila in a rally. So people said, okay, this guy here has it. He can make a good leader. So in the elections, when they came, I had 171,000 votes. Raila's candidate had 59,000.
Wow, that's a landslide.
That's a lot. That's
a
huge.
lot of votes.
And then the governor got about 140 or so thousand votes, the fellows. So I got the highest number of votes when Baba got about 150. Yeah.
Wow.
So, but what is your take on this negotiated democracy? Do you think it's a good thing?
No, it's not a good thing. You need to win people of it. by creating confidence that they don't have to. There's this saying in Luya that a hyena from your home village
Yeah.
will eat you, but it will be kind enough to leave the head so that your people can be able to identify you. But a strange hyena will eat you and so even lick up the blood.
Yeah.
So nothing of you will be left.
So,
So you need to assure them that they can get their rights. So their rights will be protected even without having a hyena from their own village, and you'll not be a hyena anyway. Yeah. So you need to find a way to create a momentum that thrashes
yeah.
that ethnicity. And usually to create a very good vision and begin working on your vision much earlier.
Okay.
But then work on the vision even with those who negotiate the democracy, and pose not as a threat to them, but as an improvement what they do,
Okay.
not as a threat. No,
Don't be a more messianic.
don't be a messiah. No.
So, another question for you. When everybody was walking out, so we were supposed to unite after the new president was announced, but when everybody was walking out, you decided, you know what, I'm gonna stay on. And what was your conviction? What were you're thinking? Okay, you know what, we have to forge forward, or you're thinking, you know what, I have to be part of this, even though I don't agree, because we'll get to the numbers, we'll get to your Supreme Court presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, the issue is that, as they said, the law is an ass. But we have accepted to be ruled by the law, by that ass. So I think once the Supreme Court pronounced itself, to the sense of finality, it just now becomes like if you have gone to an election and you clearly see that the voters had a preference that was not you. I'm saying clearly there's no doubt, there's nothing now. The question of that you have not been there was no ballot interference or whatever. That's the verdict of the people is so clear as black day and night. You move on. Because one of the says yakubali kushinda si mshindani. So once the Supreme Court pronounced itself, once the IBC failed to give us a winner, it was up to the courts to give us a winner. And so when the courts decided to give us a winner, that became a binding position. And now Kenya has a president who has to uphold the constitution and who has to work for Kenyans. And we support him and his agenda where he keeps to the law.
Where he keeps to the law.
Yes.
And if he breaks the law, you will take him to court.
We sort him out. We deal with him and stop him from breaking the law. We hold him accountable. So, and also both the law, both the letter and the spirit of the law. Also, in politics, then we go beyond the law and we begin having visions. You see, you can keep the law, but be extremely transactional without being transformative.
Yeah.
And being extremely transactional, you may find that just holding your position may not be good enough. Because if you just hold your position and do what made you number one today, and you don't look at what other people are doing, then you find yourself dropping backwards because you are not moving and others are moving. So we need a transformative leader who can also then keep moving the country forward. Most important is not who holds the office. Most important is what do they do with the office they hold.
Okay.
So now we are at the point whereby it's no longer important who occupies State House. That will come in 2027. But between now and 2027 is what is the occupant of State House doing with the power Kenyans have given him.
Okay.
What do we need to enable him to perform? And what do we do if he doesn't perform? But first of all, we must give him all the support to make him perform. Because if he performs and is successful, Kenya, the Kenya project is successful, then we are better for everybody. If he fails, it's a sad day for everybody.
Now,
yeah.
Now, Senator, I want to ask you a question. Most of the people President Ruto nominated had issues, had cases which have been dropped. And what is your take on that? Because some of them, like Isa Chuma, were having a case in court for murder and corruption, but they have been dropped.
My take on that is that the rule of law is only as good as the law enforcers. So if the law enforcer decides not to uphold the law will not work from the books and enforce itself. So the office holders are critical. The office holders are the most important thing you need to have. So if the law enforcers decide to try to begin, if they have been telling people that, well, I may not have all the facts about those cases, but if the DPP instituted those cases because of politics and not because of law enforcement, then he is incompetent to hold office. If the DPP is dropping those cases because of politics, then still he's incompetent to hold office. So either way, Haji's goose is cooked. And he needs to do the honorable thing by quitting to save the honor of that office. He must fall on his sword and save the honor of that office that he holds. Otherwise, he's continuing to be there, will totally undermine the confidence of Kenyans in the rule of law.
Okay.
But as I know that since he may not have the capacity to resign, because it calls for a lot of capacity to be able to do the right thing, especially when it doesn't benefit you. So the resignation is one of the most noble things a citizen can do if they find that the occupation of a public office, which was created to serve the people, not to create employment. There's no right to employment. And that's an argument I made when I got rid of Justice Rawal and Justice Tunoi from the judiciary on the retirement age. They were trying to argue that when they were hired, the retirement age was 75. The new constitution has set the retirement age at 70. And that tenure attaches to the individual, not the law. And I was able to argue right into the Supreme Court and prove that there's no right to employment. Employment in the public service is created to serve the people. And if the law changes, the employment also changes. That's why you can do that's why you can abolish offices. That's why you can do it. It's not like a right to life, but the argument that they were right to a job, interpreting Article 40 on property rights because they earn a salary and whatever and all those things was entrenched in the Constitution, and therefore they could not be removed when their legitimate expectation was that they were to serve up to 75 and not 70. I said no. Under the law, you serve at the pleasure of the law.
Right.
And the contractual part of your employment is only on the pension.
Right.
The pension that cannot be changed.
Right.
So we got so Haji now needs also to resign and say, you see, it's under my watch that this mess happened.
Okay.
But here, so you know, I love the argument. So what would you know? I think the Kenyan law can be very complex because here we have all these issues that would undermine leadership, especially corruption, and of course, how people have ghost workers, all these things that would have, undermined somebody's ability to serve. So tell me, so I mean, what is it that can get you out of office? Like, for example, the former Nairobi, this is in Sonko, was the former Nairobi governor. I mean, what was it? And then what the qualifications? Because now, the IEBC, for example, they say these are the qualifications. Things changed at some point, and then you wonder. I mean, is it the intelligence? Is it, just a degree? Is it wisdom? What is it? How do you explain that?
Now, one of the things that you then have to look at is the culture.
Okay.
It's not a legal problem, it's a cultural problem.
Mm-hmm.
It's like resigning is really a cultural problem, not it's not a legal issue.
Yeah.
So it's a culture. So we don't have a culture where people fall on their swords when they make, so that they can preserve both their honor and the honor of the office they are holding. They've got no honor at all. They are scavengers. They are in those offices to scavenge, not to serve.
Now that the Senate, as I told you that your name is the interpreter in chief of the Constitution of Kenya. What is
I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a lawyer. So that title should go to the lawyers. Me, I'm just. I've never even seen a law school, let alone even a signpost to a law school. Let alone get into those classes.
But I think you have been in the corridors of the judiciary until you understand the law, because they know that you are very detailed, and I don't know why you went why you didn't become a lawyer. But what is your evaluation? What scorecard can you give? This is 10 years where we have applied the 2010 Constitution in our elections. We have had this long time. What scorecard can you give to the Constitution of Kenya? You think it has worked well for Kenyans?
Well, the fact that people are going to courts to resolve the electoral disputes shows it has worked. But we have failed the Constitution. Totally failed it, because we have not understood the architecture of elections under the Constitution of Kenya 2010. The architecture of elections under the Constitution of Kenya 2010 is digital, not manual. It's digital. We should be able to, when you go to the Kim's kit and you put your finger there and your details pop up, it should give us a menu of candidates. Then you select the candidate you want. And one of the reasons why I say that architecture is not understood, if you go to one of the articles, I think it's 138, clause 3. It has no room for spoiled elections, for spoiled ballots. And Kenyans have been fighting now. What do we do with spoiled ballots? Do we count them? Do we not count them? Do we factor them into the computation of percentages, or we don't? Now, the Constitution says nothing about them, not because it's a lacuna, no. Because in a digital election, you cannot have spoiled ballots. Because you press a button, you see. And now when you go to Article 81 and Article 86 of the Constitution, they talk of an accurate, simple, verifiable election. Now, when you're having 40 million ballots, the very fact that, first of all, for you to vote in Nyamira, if you wanted to vote in Nyamira and you are in the US, you must travel to Nyamira. It is not simple. Or you are in Nairobi, you must travel to Nyamira, leave everything, travel to Nyamira to vote. It's not simple. You would expect a simple election to be one where you could walk to any IBC office and say, I am a voter in Nyamira, then you enter your vote, and Nini comes, then you are able to choose your MCA, to choose your MP, to choose your governor, to choose your senator, to choose your women rep, to choose your president, and that's just from one point. And then, seamlessly, your votes are attributed where you have voted, and automatically, in real time, the results are known. You get me? So that, on the level of simplicity alone, what we are doing is not simple.
Right.
You have to travel. Now, you have to deal with papers. You get a point whereby people don't write. You need to be helped to write and fill in the names. A lot of you. So a simple election will be one whereby it will be very easy just to organize any IBC booth and vote in Turkana when you are in Mandara, and you vote in Turkana when you are in Mombasa, and vote for all positions. You guys in the diaspora should not just be voting for the president.
Right. Right.
You should be able to vote for all candidates.
Yeah.
And the technology is there. So already there is that failure in terms of simplicity. You come to accuracy. How accurate are these paper ballots? You see all the problems we have and say they were not counted, they were not whatever. How do you know that the vote you have cast has been counted in favor of your candidate? In Brazil, where we invented the digital voting, is what you call a paper, a VVP, a voter verified trail or something like that. So once you vote, the gadget automatically gives you a serial number. And with that serial number, you can go on the website and confirm where your ballots went, whether they were attributed to your candidate or not. So you can go back and verify that the votes you gave were attributed to the candidate you voted for.
Where Senator, I think that's what you can do in the Senate, and I hope we are going to improve on it now that
you have failed to implement the constitution. Then look at the timeline for, and even our judges don't understand it. That's the sad thing. And the constitution is not as good as the judge you have. So if you get judges who don't understand the constitution, you have no constitution. So you find the judges in the Supreme Court saying, we need to amend the constitution to increase the number of days we are given to determine a presidential election. But remember, they are thinking in analog, they are thinking paper. You need even a year to be able to verify 14 million ballots. But if it is digital and it's on a handset, it's just a digital. The question of going back to the gadgets and seeing what happened. And administratively, the good thing with the digital is that if you write a program to cheat, they will cheat but leave evidence that they have cheated.
I love the idea of the serial numbers, because at the end of the day, we know when you presented the case in Supreme Court, you were saying, we found out a few things, that there were duplicates of those voting cards that were handed out, and
yes,
there was book 1 and book 2, and some people used both the books, and there were people who were accosted actually because they had they were filling out voter registrations, and of course according to them to the candidates. We know we still have to deal with that, but how how do we reinforce a digital 2027 so that we know for sure there's nobody who is going to tamper with anything? You already said we can do that.
It's a Herculean task, because first of all, the political elites don't like it because it eliminates rigging. Both sides. They still want to be able to massage votes. They still want to have the power to say that whoever determines the vote is whoever counts the vote. It's not the voter, but whoever counts the ballots determines the vote. Like something has come up here in my local voting station here. There's a petition in Busia. and in the place I vote, well, the candidate who got 303 votes, but somehow in the telling center it was ended at 0. And we saw it where I vote. This is where I voted, and we saw the results. The result were even pinned on the knee. But when they were telling, somehow his 303 votes disappeared. He got a 0 and he switched to somebody else. You see, so that's the kind of thing that a digital vote would eliminate. The results in real time. And you watch Brazil, they're having a very, very volatile campaign. But after elections, everything will go quiet. Why? Because they vote digitally. And everybody's able to know how they have voted. Brazil used to be very hostile. That's why they were very volatile. That's why they invented the digital elections. Another mistake we have made that the IBC keeps on going to America, keeps on going to Europe to look for technology to conduct elections. That problem, Americans have never done what the Constitution of Kenya requires. It's a third world solution. They should be looking at India and looking at Brazil.
Yeah, you wonder like in India how the billion people do an election and the election
and there are no fights. Because they can verify what has happened. Just like if I invest with you, my brother, and we do business and we make a 0 and it's transparent, you'll say, okay, but if I invest with you and we make some money and it's opaque and I give you $1 million, but in your mind you think that you should have gotten $1,001, the million will not satisfy you as much as a 0 will satisfy you where everything's transparent.
That's true.
You'll feel that somebody has played you. You see? Yeah. So another problem we have, other than the judiciary not even understanding it and comprehending what the architecture is, Parliament also had a problem. Now, if you look at the Act, the IEBC Act, the requirements for commissioners, there is no requirement for expertise in IT. It is all brick and mortar business of lawyers, of whatever, administrators, lawyers. Now, here the platform is supposed to run on IT. Now you find that IT is at a very low level. People like Musando who are killed were very, very junior workers in the ABC. But they're the ones who held the election in their hands. You see that? So we need also to amend that law to require IT expertise on the commission. So that they don't, when people don't know things, usually when they go there, they're the boss and they're ignorant and they know that they're juniors know more than they do. They preserve their ignorance by not asking questions, so they approve anything that the juniors are doing, so the juniors can play them. And then we find that there have been scandals on procurement, they're procuring things that they don't require and what have you. So that law also needs to be amended so that we require IT expertise on the IBC commissioners because we are running a database. So we need expertise in databases. So when we design an election program, they have the expertise as commissioners, so they can then now guide their juniors and say, no, this will not work, this will work. So those are among other issues that we have. That it's like, if you allow me, you give a dog a shilling, or $1 million to a dog is really nothing. You will even starve with $1 million right in front of it. So that's what Kenyans are doing. So we have really a very, very good constitution that will eliminate all these things that are destroying or undermine, or the contradictions that are undermining the republic. We have the most expensive elections anywhere in the world. A question of agents, you see, to go and protect your vote. It's very expensive. Ask Dr. Mora. It's very expensive. But if we did it digitally, we would eliminate these agents.
There will be no agents required.
Agents required.
You're right. You're so right. By the way, Nyamira, for example, those agents at every polling station. Then we had like 1,000 polling stations. They sprung out.
Yes, and you see, each agent will cost you about 2 to 3,000 shillings
Yes.
for the period. So if you get 1,000
Mhm.
times 3,000 per day times 3 days, you're talking of 9 million shillings. Why does Dr. Mara get 9 million shillings?
Yeah.
I
Now,
mean, no wonder, no wonder. All the foreigners, now I tell you. So when we come to, when people go to Kenya, I mean, I can tell you, I think the shock, first of all, there's that shock that, you know what, here, in Tizi, we call it oversight. You have to give something.
Amuji.
oh yeah, you have to cough money.
You have to come.
Whenever you are passing, you have to give money for the
Yeah.
water.
Yeah. Otherwise,
Listen,
how much you will chase you down.
yeah, they have got what you call a listening allowance, a seeing allowance. Just for them to see you, you pay them an allowance. Just for them to listen to you, pay them an allowance. You see?
You see, that's why even in Masuchade,
Yeah.
people never went to Uhuru Gardens and they wondered. Some people were saying, well, they were supposed to be paid to go attend the Masuchade celebration.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
Even
yes.
now, and that culture is so bad because even called public participation, and people want to be paid to come and approve a budget that's going to affect their lives.
That's true. That you have to pay them.
So they don't come, and the leadership just goes and writes its own things and fixes them. Then they begin complaining, we don't have this, we don't have that, we don't have the other. Another issue, there's need for political education in Kenya. What is the role of an MP? What's the role of the executive? So you look at everybody campaigning. They're talking of roads, they're talking of hospitals, they're talking of whatever. We'll bring. Instead of saying, I will supervise the executive and demand that this should be done. So they want to create the expectation in people that they are going to be these messiahs with manna from heaven. So the voters expect goodies.
They do.
So doing a road is not the role of an MP.
It's the role of the executive.
It's not the executive. So I should tell my people that when I become here, you are taxpayers, you deserve this. I'm going to lobby and demand that the executive does ABCD. So that we distance ourselves with projects. So not saying I'm going to bring, where from? You're a rich man.
Now, that is one thing in Kenya. I think we have what we call political entrepreneurs. And even you saw when most of the nominees, we realized that they are not hustlers. Actually, they are billionaires.
No.
Now, if you say an MP needs to know the contractor who is building the road because he has to get his cut from there. That is why we have lost it completely, because people go there to get money kickbacks from all of this. So some of the MPs even have those companies which are doing those roads. So they can't leave it to executive alone.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. And so we need really political hygiene. We need political hygiene beyond the law. We need political hygiene in very, very many areas. And even the other day, I was debating on one of the radio stations, and we were discussing the issue of politics and corruption. And people are saying there's nothing for politicians to face. There's a law enforcement. Me, I told them the war on corruption works on two legs. One is political, the other is the law. And the most important for me, the right leg, for those who are right-legged, or the left leg, for those who are left-legged, the most powerful leg is the political one. If there is political hygiene, if today President William Ruto woke up and said, if you are facing any allegations of corruption, you will not be eligible to serve in my office until you have cleared yourself. and you come back. And then he said the judiciary, any matter can touch on the integrity of anybody should be determined, try and determine it within 6 months so that this person is not injured. So you'll find that then the law enforcement will work very well when there's political hygiene. But if President William Ruto embraces the corrupt, then law enforcement will be hamstrung because going after them will amount to going after the president.
That's true.
So it becomes difficult. So the most important thing, and what Kenya lacks right now, right from independence in the war against corruption, is political hygiene. We need to get rid of all those vermins that pollute politics. We need to have a clean environment in politics. So once you have political hygiene and just say this is a not go and a no do, I don't go area then. But now look at Ruto, appointed characters who are facing active cases in court, whether they're fictitious or not. So even removing those cases does not even help to make matters worse.
Yeah.
So that absence of political hygiene for me is a very, very critical thing. And the day we get somebody into State House who will say, no, not under my watch, corruption will evaporate in Kenya. But for as long as you get somebody in State House who cannot do that, then corruption becomes the most paying enterprise in Kenya.
So do you see any hope that we can reach that utopian situation where Kenya is corrupt-free?
It's not really utopian. It is the desired destination.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's very easy, it's very practical. It is a desired destination. I don't see it. If I go by the history of William Ruto, I don't see it. But we being a Christian who worships a God of second opportunities, and who believes that Saul became Paul, Ruto can get his Damascus moment.
Anytime.
And they can be. But I'm not saying, I have not seen that yet. So we keep hope alive.
Okay.
And we hope that he does embrace that, because corruption for me is a cancer that is killing this country.
Yeah.
Do
you think we developed corruption to counties, that when we created the county governments? And
maybe I'd put it in a more positive way. We failed to develop the mechanisms for accountability and oversight. There's now much more oversight over the national government than over the county government. And I think that failure now for me is a failure of the Senate. And one reason that pulled me towards the Senate is to make sure that we do legislation that can make the counties autonomous, functional, and can protect the assets, the public assets in counties. There's hardly any legal framework, and because we don't have a culture of holding people accountable, then we need to legislate to create that. And there's even a very simple thing that people have not understood, one of the big problems. Right now, the budget for the county assembly and the executive, their budget is combined and is given to the governor. So the governor has the money, the MCS want it, then they begin these fights. There was need for the legislation to do what we do in the national government. The budget for parliament is separate from the budget for the executive.
Yeah.
So we need legislation to separate those two budgets. Because there's no way the governor sitting with the pass can be oversighted, and basically paying MPs their salaries can be oversighted by those MPs.
Yeah, actually, that's very true. Actually, you have gotten the budget for county assembly needs to be separate.
It's separate from the budget of the executive.
Yeah. That's when they can oversight.
Yes, that's when they can oversight.
Yeah.
So, number two, impeachment. A totally mistaken concept that got its way to the Constitution. We borrowed it from America, where they impeach presidents. But America, the president is not elected through a popular vote. The president is elected through a college.
Yeah.
That's why Trump became president without winning the popular vote.
Yeah.
And Hillary, who won the popular vote, did not become president.
Yeah.
Such a thing cannot happen in Kenya. It's about the 50+1, the one vote.
The 50+1. You have to tell us about about that too, because just like the judges get to decide somebody's fate in Kenya.
Yeah.
So in the US, then we have the jury made up of people, your peers.
Yeah.
So unless you decide, I don't want the jury, then I just want the judges. So tell us about that, because there was just so much confusion, and of course we saw people marching, of course we're still there, and people are trying to just get to court, and we saw you presenting a very serious PowerPoint, and you're like, okay, it makes sense, because what is there if it doesn't come to 100%?
Yeah. So before I go there, let me just finish the issue of the impeachment of governors, which is a very, very bad, which is a very, very sad situation. An MCA who runs in in a small pond, who swims in a small pond called a ward, has the power to vote out a governor who has basically swam in a lake in the constituency to be able to be elected.
Right.
And the governor is not elected on the basis of how many MCAs his party has got. He's given a direct vote.
Yeah.
So what would be the threshold for impeaching such a person? Now, there was a day, let me give you a very sad situation. The governor for Trans Nzoia one time, the MCAs wanted money from him, so they went and sat in a hotel, called the speaker, gave him an impeachment motion, says, go with this motion to impeach the governor that we want to move next week, and tell him to give us money or we impeach him. So the speaker looks at this thing and says, gentlemen, I don't think it works like this. They said, okay, no problem. What we do, let us change the name of the document. We impeach the speaker first. If you are not taking it, we are impeaching you. And getting it. So you see how the executive and the speaker are exposed to these MCAs, whose agenda is just money most of the time.
Right.
So we need to protect the governor by raising there's a requirement that can save it, because in the US the president is through a college, then he can be impeached, he can be removed because he was voted by, he's not elected on the basis of a direct vote.
But also the threshold is very high, because like 67 senators out of 100 have to vote.
Yes, even here, the threshold is high. You have to get a 2/3 majority of the assembly that's impeaching, and when you go to the Senate, you need those 2/3 majority of the 47 senators. So the threshold is 2/3 majority in both ways. But in the issue there is that the counties in America are the basis upon which a president holds office.
Yeah.
Not the direct voter.
That's true.
In Kenya, it's a direct voter who holds office. So when you go down to the governor now, the threshold for removing a governor needs to be secured in legislation so that the voter still has a say. We incorporate a level of the recall clause. It's like in America, you've got the recall.
Yeah.
You can recall a governor. The people go and say, we are not satisfied with this guy. Then they can recall him. So we might need to get a hybrid of the recall and the impeachment of the governor, so that we require that a certain number of signatures from the voters are realized for an impeachment motion to be able to take off.
Senator, I want to ask you this question. When we put the Constitution of Kenya 2010, I think there is a mistake we did, that we got a new constitution, but we left the old parliament to implement it, and then they mutilated that constitution. When actually the Senate was supposed to be an upper house, it's not even a lower house. It's like a house outside the compound. Because how can they do registration and it does not go to the Senate? And now that you are in the Senate, what are you going to do so that we can
To cure that, you know, they inserted Article 109. If you can write it down and go and check, Article 109 and Article 110 of the Constitution were inserted when the MPs made in Naivasha before we went to a referendum.
Yeah.
All we need to do is to kick those two articles out.
How can you do it then?
Through a referendum. If they can be kicked out, and because they undermine devolution, and we get the people to understand it, they can be kicked out, and then that architecture will remain. But as long as Article 109 and Article 110 are in this Constitution, it brings that confusion. But also, if the Senate was to do their work well and devolve the functions that have been devolved, then they'll be controlling a very big part of the enterprise of the Republic, and it will not be possible for the National Assembly to do what they want to do. We have had judgments by the Supreme Court which has quashed a number of laws that have been made by the National Assembly without going to the Senate. So in the Constitution says that a law that does not affect the counties can be passed in the National Assembly alone. You would wonder which law is this that doesn't affect the counties?
Yeah, which law does not
live in counties. Okay? Kenyans live in counties. Which law does not affect counties? You see. So if we just got serious and say that we get proper interpretation, then we still can go back and say that no law can be passed without going through the Senate.
Yeah,
so
that's what we need.
That's what we need. And then when you go back, you will find that the last 10 years, the senators have been really yearning to be governors.
Yeah.
And not doing the Senate business. So agriculture is devolved, but all the money is still in Nairobi. Health is devolved, all the money is still in Nairobi. You see.
Why is the money sitting in Nairobi?
No legislation to operationalize it, to take it down.
Okay. Well, I think our time is gone for the show. Why can't we do it another time? Because it looks like
then you can speak to Dr. Moraz 50 plus 1%, which is simply, anyway, the truth is that nobody won that election. If the figures were followed up, because we had shifting targets. The denominator kept on changing. We should have had a simple denominator, which was the registered voters.
Right.
Actually, for me, that is where I was hanging on that petition. The only thing I thought was going to kick out that petition was...
Yeah, but then the judges chose not to see. So, you're as good as the judge you have. If the judge chooses not to see your point, then you are cooked.
So what is the future? Before we end this, please give us where do you foresee the diaspora? Because I think there's a lot of people who are wanting to come back and just give back, but they don't know how to do it, and the frustration is there. But where do they start?
I think first of all, it's not supposed to be largely an individual enterprise. We need to recognize the important role that the diaspora are not foreigners. And we cannot treat the diaspora through the foreign missions. We need to give the diaspora proper accommodation within the state. so that they can play directly as Kenyans, not through the embassies, which are supposed to deal with foreigners and foreign relations. So we need to fix that. Once we fix that and bring in the diaspora as key component and key players within the republic, then we shall be able to get people to begin appreciating them not as foreigners or outsiders, but as a key cog within the Kenyan economy. And that, I think, for me, needs a lot of legislation and policy. We need a lot of policies to be able to achieve that. So that even if you are to have, like, within Nyamira, a requirement that there's a provision within the Nyamira government for diaspora engagements. You see, you begin within the Nyamira, then you see a diaspora desk within Nyamira will be able to maybe to play a very big role. It will give you a lot of chance to be able to interact and interface with the Nyamira and stop being foreigners. Because basically, once you go to America, you pick up a speak of an accent. How much Chuma will not get you? How much Chuma reject you?
Probably that is what Judy Mora did.
What did you do?
You went with an accent.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, it's crazy, and we saw that. So here, you know,
So I think we need within the Kenyan state.
yes,
Okay.
We need to recognize this very important constituency, which has become a major income earner.
Yeah.
As an exporter of labor. We also need to maybe to begin creating and people realizing that labor is now international. Labor cannot be bound within
boundaries.
And that one will be able to bring assembly, to bring even acceptability, and even when people wanting to know, to understand what you people do out there, and maybe see that okay, the exposure you have out there could be beneficial for them on the ground. But the state needs to recognize that you are important and what you are doing is important, and maybe in every county government have a forum for their diaspora. What's the Nyamira diaspora? How are they involved in projects and things like those, in education and stuff, so that we can domesticate, so if I may use the word, the diaspora as part and parcel of the narrative of the polity.
yes.
And that's where I think it will go. But right now, people consider you people as outsiders.
That's true.
Yeah.
That is so true. That is so true.
Maybe we can, I think, stop here because time. Thanks, Senator, for your insight. I think we can organize for another time. But I hope next time we can organize not too late for Senator. I know this is now in the middle of the night.
I know, and we are so sorry for interrupting your sleep. I know the Kaikedian rhythm has been affected.
I can now understand one thing. Being the doctor that she is, she just woke me up an hour early so that I could get out of the sleep by the time I get. I don't think if I had come from the blanket to the television, I would have performed. I can see the doctor in her being a very good support base.
Yeah.
Right? Well, thank you. We really appreciate you.
Thank you, Dr. It's always exciting, and you are such a phenomenon. And you need to happen in Nyamira.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, and thank you, Dr. What's the name, Oma?
Omandi.
Omandi.
Yeah.
Also, thank you. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah.
It's very, very interesting to see a man suited up at midnight in Nairobi.
Yeah. You know, when you go to the studio, you have to be ready. So I knew I was going. I hope I will meet you in the streets of Nairobi, and
I'll be back. I'm traveling. I'm right now in Busia.
Okay.
Then I'm traveling to Soroti, Uganda on Saturday.
Yeah.
It's about 160 kilometers from the border as the crow flies.
Okay.
And they're installing the Emormor. That is the king of the Iteso. The king of the Iteso is being crowned.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I'm leading a delegation of Tesos to go and from Kenya Uganda to do the installation of the king,
Okay.
Emormor, who happens incidentally to be more in Kenya than in Uganda, but that's the seat of the Itaso is in Uganda.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he even speaks that Kenyan version of the Teso, not the Ugandan version.
Okay. Well, we can arrange for another
So
discussion.
I'll be back in town on Monday.
Okay, I will give you a call.
Okay. You can get my number from Dr. Mora.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
Daktari.
Honorable. Thank you.